spins it left for the win. Touchdown, Patriots!
The Patriots Postgame Show with Hardy, Mike Dussault, and Paul Perillo is your source for the latest news and information following every Patriots game.
And the Patriots have won their 6th Super Bowl title. In the early 2000s, they won 3 of 4. Now they have won 3 of the last 5. Yes, it's still a dynasty.
Join the conversation by calling the Ace Ticket hotline at 855-PATS-500 or email the show at webradio@patriots.com.
I hope y'all keep that same energy for tonight, baby. Can't wait.
Live from our studios inside Gillette Stadium, here's Hardy.
Slipping and sliding, he was like a cat. Pop, pop, bang. Welcome into the Patriots Postgame Show, where today, for the first time since 2008, I have that correct?
Correct.
It's one of those things that I didn't think I was going to have to really prepare
have
for today. The Patriots will not be going to the postseason after they lose to the Dolphins in Miami. Final score of 22-12. Welcome in. It's Hardy. It's Mike Dussault, and it's Paul Perillo. Deuce, are you ready to talk? Can you do this?
Yeah, I can
All
do
right,
it.
Go
I can
ahead.
do it.
Go ahead. First thoughts.
First thoughts are just you can't stop the run. You're not going to really be in many football games. And I think the last 2 weeks, if there's a thread that you can tie together, it's just that. And teams just run all over them. 250 yards on the ground. Credit to Miami. I think they got away from it a little bit there in the first half, and then they went back to it in the second half. And they ran away to victory. They got the last 2 touchdowns, and, the Patriots are what they are. I mean, this is what we saw all season, and, I guess if you're going to go down, this is the team you were. You couldn't stop the run. Third downs, they were terrible. They didn't score a touchdown for the second straight week. So, they're obviously trending in the wrong direction, and deservedly so. They're not going to make the playoffs.
Paul, your first thoughts.
I think Mike makes a really good one in terms of the defense, and we've seen this time and time again this year, their inability to stop the run. And really today, their inability to stop anything. I thought Miami, especially considering their limitations in terms of their personnel, was able to do really anything they wanted. They approached 400 yards of offense today. And that, to me, is really unacceptable for the defense. Offensively, and we're going to get to this as we start good, bad, and injured, I thought there was some curious stuff that went on in terms of game plan and in terms of what was working today and what wasn't. And I'll just say specifically Sony Michel. I thought he really looked good, and I don't understand. I have no explanation whatsoever with why he ended up with only 10 carries in this game, but we'll get to that.
All right, we'll get to it. As we sit here and, come to grips with the fact that the Patriots will not be in the postseason for the first time since Tom Brady sat out 99% of his season after he left in the first quarter of the first game back in 2008. And I can't help but look at the Buccaneers making a comeback down in Atlanta as the Patriots are out of the postseason. What is the common denominator? I find it hard not to draw that immediate conclusion there that Brady, as if we didn't know already, had so much to do with their success here in New England, and that asking Cam Newton or anyone reasonably to come in and kind of take over and just get us back to the postseason. That'll be good enough. Just get us a winning record for the season. It doesn't even have to be 11-5, just 10-6, even 9-7. I think for those who wanted to say it could happen with anybody, this is a big splash of cold water in the face. This is a wake-up call. This is reality. This is what your team was from the very beginning, and even through that stretch of games where you saw them have a fair amount of success, it wasn't really there, and it wasn't anywhere near playoff ready, and you got shown that again today. Deuce, to your point about being able to run the ball, being able to stop the run. Paul, everything that you said, it all came to fruition today, and you're left with a below-average football team.
Yeah, and I think that's the bottom line, Hardy, is, we can sit here and we can say, what are they doing? Why is this? Why? Like, they just weren't good enough.
Yeah.
This year, there's a lot of games that they sort of had a chance in, but they were like today. They sort of were outplayed. I mean, I think if you look back at this game and you just change one play, the rookie, sort of trying to hurry a pass while being hit.
Absolutely.
I mean, this game was close to being, the way it ended up, it was close to being in the first half too.
Yeah.
That would have been a 98-yard drive. You couldn't stop teams from running the ball and controlling the clock and controlling the game, and just offensively, you're just forced to kick too many field goals. And their inability in the red zone, and they really didn't even get to the red zone all that much today. There was a couple of longer field goals, but 4 field goals isn't going to win you very many games.
No, you're right. And how many of the games this season where it's a couple plays here and there that, and it's really got to be, well, thank God we got that punt from Jake Bailey, and thank God we got that goal line interception. You need those plays the whole time. And even then they might not be enough. Today they weren't enough. And, there's just a symmetry to you lost what you were terrible at. You lost doing what you weren't good at. And you're right. The issues are bad. And I just think, from a football perspective, it starts with stopping the run as a defense. And I just think if you can't stop the run and you're coming down the stretch here in this season and you're just getting run over left and right for, your best stops are just letting them get 4 yards. Even those are the successful runs. So I think that's just unacceptable on so many levels of just getting outplayed, out-physical, all of that right down the line, especially by a team that was missing a lot of their best guys. So it is what it is.
All right, let's get to the good, the bad, and the injured here. Here we go.
Now it's time for the good.
Pretty good. It's pretty good.
The bad.
If you were in my toilet bowl, I wouldn't bother flushing it.
And the injured.
You are a gay!
Good, the bad, and the injured, brought to you by the good players, the bad players, the injured players, and we have a lot of 2 of those and not very many of the others.
Yeah, we'll try to find some here.
We'll try and find something for the
about this guy?
goods.
I'll go on.
Yeah, how about...
I got one.
How
Go
about
ahead,
that guy?
Deuce.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah.
Deuce has one. Deuce, who is it?
Well, I didn't love Jacoby Myers' fumble, but he had 111 yards, 7 catches. So in a game like this, I think he bounced back on the drive after the fumble. Those mistakes are going to happen. I think he's been pretty safe with the ball all year. I don't think it actually ended up costing them, but in a game like this, it's tough. And I think, as Paul said, and I'm sure he'll bring it up as well with Sony, individually they had a few good little performances here and there offensively where, hey, a few nice catches from Demir Bird, a few nice catches from Myers, a few nice runs from Michelle. But as has been the case this season, consistency, sustainability, they had no rhythm to the offense. They couldn't all right, now we're going to go to this. They never got into that flow. It just felt like stops and starts and stops and starts. And I think that's a lot of what the season was. But I think that Myers, did pretty well for himself. Where would the Patriots offense be without Jacoby Myers? I think he's been one of the very few bright spots. Got nothing out of the tight ends again today. He was the guy kind of doing most of the work.
Yeah, I agree with Myers. I think that was an excellent pick. And I thought, and I can sort of, it's hard to just say I overlooked the fumble, but, I did think he did a nice job during the game overall. The fumble is not a good play, obviously, but I do think he belongs on the list. And I'm going to go with Sony Michel for one of my goods. And like I said, I just don't really understand the mentality. 10 carries for 74 yards. 10 carries, 74 yards. And the long was only 17. It's not like he had a 58-yarder in the middle, which skewed a bunch of 2-yard runs. He consistently was getting 10 yards a pop.
I was going to say, you take that away, he's still averaging 8 yards
I think he had 4 runs that were 10 yards or more. I don't have the, that number exactly in front of me, but I'm just thinking of the game off the top of my head, and I think he had 4 runs of 10 yards or more. I don't understand why they didn't just say, let's line it up and, when they get down in field goal range, let's see if they can stop it.
Actually, it's more than 7 or 8, but still, I agree with you. I think that was
he averaged 7.4 yards a carry.
Yeah, there you go.
Game,
so you go ahead and trying to, if you dismiss why they stopped going to him, yeah, he's an obvious good. He was one of the few things that was working.
Right. Early in the game, he had, I think the first 2, maybe the first 3 drives, because I think the first drive was 3 and out. The first 3 drives, he had 5 carries for 42 yards.
Yeah.
He only had 5 more carries the rest of the game. That's going to show up later, so stay tuned.
All right, we'll get to that. It seemed like I saw Terez Hall making a bunch of tackles today.
You're going to pick Terez Hall?
Am I not allowed to?
Fine. I just thought you were going to go a different direction. It's all right.
You want Therese Hall? You can take Therese Hall.
We wouldn't even think of using yours,
I'm not going to take your guy.
who actually belongs today.
I wanted to impress Deuce by picking a defensive player, and so then I went and looked at his numbers just now. I'm like, holy crap, he did have a bunch of tackles. I mean, that is that's not a part of the game that I'm great at seeing. But I'm like, I wanted to pat myself on the back. It's like you noticed something that actually was happening, Hardy.
That's good. Yeah, I agree. Well, it's funny because I just went through these mental gymnastics when I'm like, all right, Hardy's going to pick Nick Folk. So I'm like, I'm going to go Therese Hall. He's had a pretty good game, and I'm going to go with Therese Hall. I'm like,
I'll tell you what, I'll pick him. You can talk about it because you can speak specifically to what he was doing. I just saw him on the TV screen a lot.
I know.
I'm like, he's getting
and that's kind of what I was going to say too, because
he was on the TV screen a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he was a super positive, impactful player. I mean, anytime you're getting run on for 250 yards, picking the middle linebacker who had 12 tackles is, not great. But I just think, given the body of work this year for him, getting thrust into things with Juwan Bentley going out, and having to really probably take more of a communication role on, it wasn't great. It's not like I can point to this performance and say, wow, he was outstanding. But I just think for the guy that he is and what he did today, and considering what we're choosing from, so can I put Nick Folk on and now you talk about it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great game for him. I mean, what do they got? They got nothing without him.
He was once again the most consistent player that the Patriots have. And if it weren't for Nick Folk, it would have been an outright embarrassment out there. But 4 for 4, and he had a 45-yarder, and there you go.
Yeah. Nick Folk, everybody.
I've now reached the portion of the program where I have for my good list individual plays.
Yeah.
Not necessarily players.
That's about where I am, too.
Yeah, well, that's fine. We can do that as boss man Fred Kirsch joins us here on the post-game show. Hello, Fred. How are you? You all right?
Good.
You all right?
You want us to get you a ladder for that chair the next time you need to sit in it? I'm not the one with the donut in my hand.
But I believe that's a blueberry cake donut, and that's chock full of antioxidants.
And you really make everybody
delicious.
uncomfortable by putting them on the table, too.
Yeah, we get more comments about that than anything.
This table is the cleanest thing in this room. You should see the floor in front of you.
Should take offense to that. I clean it every show.
That's what I'm saying.
Would you eat off it?
It's the cleanest thing in the show.
Would you put your food
I
down?
would lick that table.
All right.
Please don't.
Well, lick it after Fred is gone. You'll get a bunch of blueberry crumbs. It'll be delicious.
So, Deuce, they gave up a goal with 2 seconds left in the period. Like I can't do this. I can't. Down 2-0.
What are you talking about Northeast?
Oh, he's
You didn't go there.
It's because I didn't get in. What do you want me to do?
Paul, what individual play would you like to bring up on the
A couple
good
of
list?
individual plays. This is funny. Shalik Calhoun, the first third down of the day, makes an excellent tackle on Patrick Laird to stop him a half a yard short of the first down. That's a big play, get you off the field, and and Miami drove the ball every other possession after that. But that was a big play, to start the game. Again, individual plays. I don't think Calhoun necessarily had a great game, but he's been off for a while. He's been on IR. He gets activated. First third down of the game, he made a play.
Yep.
Haystack Calhoun tackle makes it onto the good list. All right. We mentioned, just for our players, Fred, just to bring you up to speed here, we had Sony Michel, Jacoby Myers, the fumble aside.
Absolutely.
Therese Hall.
Yep.
Nick Folk.
Showed up. Yep.
That's all we got so far. You heard the play that Paul just mentioned. Anything that you want to put on the good list?
I mean, Duggar had a few good plays, but he had a lot of missed tackles too.
He did.
Just
along the
bouncing
sidelines
off guys, and
yeah.
I guess we're giving awards for try hard these days. It's sad. Yeah.
I guess a try hard, and in that regard, it's just. It doesn't seem like the day for it. It just doesn't. I don't feel like giving out a lot of goods.
No,
do you have any more, Deuce?
I would just throw J.C. Jackson on there. I mean, the guy's got 8 interceptions, and I mean that was a key play. Same thing. It's a single play. I don't know. They really challenged him that much.
Yeah.
But
I threw Winovich on for that play.
Yeah,
right.
that's a good one.
He had a terrible
game.
game. Winovich had a terrible game, but I threw him on for that play because he's the one that intercepted
forced
that pass.
the pass. Yeah.
I feel bad for Lawrence Guy. I think he makes some plays here and there, but he just can't do it himself.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, I know.
And
then Bentley gets hurt, and what do you got?
Yeah, the play that Winovich made to create that interception is a good.
That was the whole play, and that's why I put that on there. And the last thing I had for an individual play was Slater's play to get Bailey's punt.
Yep.
He goes down there, catches it over his shoulder, gets it back in the field of play, and
those are the kind of plays you absolutely need this year.
Dolphins went 90.
That was the
98
yarder. 98.
Yeah, not good.
I think it was the whole play. Well, yeah. Sorry.
Anything else?
You're just on the goods now.
Yeah. I think that's all I got.
That's all I got. I mean, we dug deep.
It was a marginal professional football team out there today, with the number of bad plays that they just couldn't string together 3 or 4 good plays.
That's what
they just couldn't.
Right.
I mean, they had good plays,
right,
but they could not string them together.
This is what I was kind of left with, Paul. When we first started, talking about the game, I said, factoring in everything for the season and Brady gone and all this stuff, what you were left with is not a horrible football team, not an embarrassment of a football team. They're a below-average football team. That's the team that showed up today.
Sure.
We saw them, I think, overachieve in a couple of games this season. We also saw them underachieve in certain games, like against the 49ers and maybe against Denver. But what you saw out there today, I'm afraid, is somewhat representative of what they are, which is again, not the worst thing I've ever seen. It's just a below-average team. We're not used to it in New England.
No, we're not.
And that's why it's so jarring to see the season in a way end today and know that, well, this will be it. We'll get a couple more games and that's it. That's all she wrote.
This isn't like, this team should be playing better. They've got good players and they should be playing better. This is a clear lack of talent on both sides of the ball. And this is what happens. It's just, on defense, you just don't have the players to sustain, to keep you in games long enough. And on offense, the ball is in the hand of a guy on every play who just shouldn't be playing football anymore. It's clear. It's clear. And then, then you add on top of that just a lack of weapons. It's just a clear lack of talent on both sides of the ball, and this is what happens.
Yeah.
This is what, it's not an effort thing,
Yeah, like to your point, Fred, in my opinion, the Patriots didn't play badly today.
No,
that's what they have.
They just do what they do. Miami
did what
didn't
they did.
make the mistakes.
They did what they did because that's what they have.
Right. And it's not like they were going up against, the 85 Bears. This is a team that barely has,
talk about NFL,
a healthy player
right.
out there.
You talk about, an NFL outfit. Like a lot of these guys, I mean, the running back that had 122 yards, I still didn't know if it was Ahmed Salvon or Salvon. And I don't mean that disrespectfully.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
I mean, I think if Miami had another drive that meant something, they would have had over 300 yards rushing.
Oh yeah, 250. Yeah. I mean, to finish, as Hardy said. I mean, I think that was perfectly put. It's just this is representative, and offensively, it's like when they get stuff, it's because it's schemed that way, and it's not like they're getting extra yards or like that. Everything is that they get what's there, that they were able to scheme to it, and that's what. And then they get down. There's not ever, as I was saying to Paul, like during the game, it's never like, oh, Miami's scrambling to try to take a Patriot guy down and he's barreling through for extra yards, or and you saw that consistently with Miami, and it's just not functional.
Before we get to the bads, unless you've got some real standout bads, I just want to kind of as the caveat to all of this, just say I don't think any one of these things are going to be the reason why they lost today. But there were a handful of things that I saw that I would put on the bad list that contributed to what was a lackluster effort. But again, a lot of things factor into this. Paul, do you want to start? Do you have a specific bad in terms of a player or a play or anything?
I mean, the play in general, I think the number one issue today, Deuce led off his opening. The run defense has been a problem all year. But when you go up against a team that's 27th in the league in rushing, is averaging a league worst 3.5, I think, yards per carry, they have no running backs. All their running backs are out, basically. Their offensive line is banged up. They lost a guy in the middle of the game, and they, as Fred said, were a drive away from putting 300 rushing yards on the board on you. Ahmed gets 23 carries for 122 yards. Breida, who hasn't played in a little while, hasn't played much, 12 for 86. So 250 yards rushing. The run defense is just a problem.
It's huge, and I'm glad to let you take it because I want someone else to expect it. But it's so frustrating because I feel like so much of that it's not just talent in the run defense. I feel like that's just more. That's your team. That's your team. That tells you what you need to know about your team. And even if you stink, you can put up some fight in the run game. And the last couple weeks. Everything else kind of is moot because they can't stop the run. I mean,
42 carries, 6 yards a pop.
I mean, just bang, bang. And they're not getting the third down. It's just first down, second down, first down, right down the field. I think they had 4 drives of double-digit plays. I mean, another one was 9. So, I mean, basically 5 drives where they're just rolling at least 10 plays off on you. I think of everything that's just distressing. I think that's the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, they have no identity on defense, let alone offense. But on defense, they have no identity right now. I mean, they came into the season with, we thought, an identity of this team's great against the pass.
Right.
Nobody's going to be able to pass against them.
Got great secondary.
And that just wasn't the case. And they've always had an identity. When they need to make running stops, they do it. And that they just didn't have the players to do that either. So they have no identity on defense. And I think what happens is the coaching, whether it's Steve Belichick or Bill or whoever, they guess a lot on defense. Yeah. They try to scheme. And when they're wrong, it looks really bad,
Yeah. Offensively, I'm sure we're going to spend a lot of time talking about Cam today or maybe not, but it depends. And by the way, you can load up the lines here, 855-PATS-500. Just offensively, I thought today would have been a day for a couple of those trick plays we saw earlier in the season. I'm like, this is a team that you might be able to pull some of these off against. It wouldn't have taken much. We're talking about a 10-point loss. Now, you could argue that there was a big 9-point swing in there on, you got lucky for a ball that touched a player as he had a foot out of bounds.
Very lucky.
I mean, and that took 6 off the board, and you ended up getting 3 out of it. So
plus maybe the pick in the end zone, which takes 3 points off the board.
So there's reason to, for you to say actually it wasn't as close as that 10-point game would indicate. But a couple of trick plays would have either put you in a position to either sustain a drive or extend a drive or maybe even score on a play.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I thought they were going to fake one of the field goals and try to go for the first.
That's what Paul said.
But then I was thinking, well, even if they get it, they're not going to punch it in the end zone.
Yeah, this is your only sure thing. Nick Folks, your only sure thing.
Well, Paul said that on a punt, I think.
I said the first third down of the game that remember the Flores challenged it and it was short by a half a yard. I said, I know they're on their own side of the field, deep in their own side. I would go for it. What's the worst that happens? You're down 3-0.
Right.
Yeah. You don't get it. Right. You're going to give them a field goal.
It's just not. So I'm like, why spend all that energy faking a field goal and getting a first to just be short anyway?
No, that was another one in a break when the Dolphins did fake the field goal, fake the punt, and got it, and they said that the guy didn't
they had
report.
2 penalties. Yeah.
Well, it was the same thing. It was an
ineligible man downfield.
Right, an illegal touching by that guy because he was an ineligible man downfield.
Yeah.
If he reported, that's all legal. Like, it's the same penalty.
Yeah.
So, that's another break they get. They did not, and I thought that they had that, because they showed, the camera showed quickly Gunner is running up as if he recognized something, and then the guy's still wide open.
Yeah.
It
wasn't a 10-point game.
No.
It's like you talk it through and how did they only lose by 10?
Yeah, and that's you could go right down the list of all their games. I mean, it's similar unless you get in a situation with the Chargers where just everything they could have done wrong they did, and it's just how much the Patriots have been in these games is directly reflective of how the other team how many mistakes, how many bad calls they get.
There was a play early, and this is symbolic, I think, of Cam Newton this year. The mental part of his game. It was either the first or second drive, and it was 3rd and 9, I believe. Patriots were just out of field goal range, and Newton takes the snap and grounds the ball. It's like,
the screen.
What are you doing? Do something. If you get sacked, who cares? You're out of field goal range anyway. Mm-hmm. Just try to make a play. Yeah. And either he lost track of what down it was or what. But that to me,
that's a good point, Freddie.
That was a nutshell of his mental game.
Because you're in Dolphins territory, so even if you get sacked, so what? You're going to punt, and you're not going to. It's not like the field position's going to help you.
He got yelled at enough times for not grounding the ball, whether it was on the pick that he threw
too wrapped up
against the Rams.
On certain downs.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
There's a time.
It's a good point.
There's a time to just try to make something happen.
Yeah.
And if you get sacked, you get sacked.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can talk about Cam right now, but if you have other bads to get to, I think Cam is going to, probably be a big topic of conversation.
I mean, I just connect him to third downs, which they're 2 for 9 on third downs, and again, they need to be perfect in the red zone. They need to convert those plays. It's just how limited they are. They couldn't convert those. They're not going to sustain drives. I just think that was kind of a nutshell of where they were at.
And they throw
a Hail Mary for the 49ers in the last play of the game, but it didn't matter. They scored a touchdown.
They throw one to Asiasi. He fires it in. It's like ding off his hands. Then Keene, he can't make a play.
Yeah, I had like a lot of individual drops. Asiasi had one go right through his hands. Harry had one on a third down right through his hands. Keene catches one and fumbles.
Right.
And it's, some of these you wonder, like, all right, is it a bad job by the receiver? And my gut tells me it's a combination, because if it's hitting you in the hands, my first instinct is to say, well, you got to make a better play on that. But some of these throws are coming in at weird angles from Cam.
They really are.
They're coming at him at
weird velocities, like short range, high velocity.
At a point where they're not expecting it. They're expecting to elevate for something, and then it ends up being lower at the last second, or it's too high. So it's probably a combination of them. But, yeah, there were some drops today.
The one to Asiasi started low because it was a sidearm pass and was on the rise when it, it was a tough one.
And then
the one to Harry down the sideline, it's like he didn't. I don't know. He mistimed it.
He barely got off the ground and it went right through his hands. I agree, Freddie. It was weird.
It
continues that pattern of everything looks funny when he's involved.
It does.
Right.
It does.
Right.
It's certainly not what we're used to.
And God bless Myers. I mean, the guy's just balling out there.
I agree.
He's doing everything he can.
Anything else specifically that we need to get to here on the Bads before we get to the injuries?
Very minor play, in the grand scheme of things. But it was one of the few plays that they actually stopped a run, and I think they set up like a 2nd and 8 or a 2nd and 7, and they get called for too many men on the field.
Yeah.
Now it looks like they got 8 yards on first down instead. Just how many games I would venture to say that 10 or 11 of their games this year, they've had too many men on the field on defense or called a timeout to avoid it.
I would say if you add up the number of timeouts to stop that penalty, you probably have at least 8 times this year where on defense they've had too many men. And that, we all know, is a coaching penalty.
Was that the one coming out of the timeout and they ended up having 12 men on the field?
Yeah.
Good grief. Yeah, you can't do that. All right. We're going to step aside quickly right now as we need to time this out properly for our post-game press conferences. So we'll continue here with not only the injuries but your phone calls. I see you there, so we'll get to you next here on the Patriots Postgame Show.
Ready or not. Gillette ProGlide and ProGlide Gel. 5 blades and a pivoting flex ball designed to get virtually every hair on the first stroke while washing away dirt and oil. So you're ready for the day with a clean shave and a clean face.
In New England, we are resilient. It takes hard work to earn respect. Sometimes it takes decades. And it always takes someone being on your side.
Order ahead on the Dunkin' app to get running on game day. Whether you're a Patriots fan or a Dunkin' fan. DD Perks members get a $1 medium hot or iced coffee when you order from the app on Patriots game day.
Ready or not. Gillette ProGlide and ProGlide Gel. 5 blades and a pivoting flex ball designed to get virtually every hair on the first stroke while washing away dirt and oil. So you're ready for the day with a clean shave and a clean face.
we are resilient. It takes hard work to earn respect. Sometimes it takes decades. And it always takes someone being on your side.
Order ahead on the Dunkin' app to get running on game day. Whether you're a Patriots fan or a Dunkin' fan.
Yes.
DD Perks members get a $1 medium hot or iced coffee when you order from the app on Patriots game day.
Join the conversation by calling the Ace Ticket hotline at 855-PATS-500 or email the show at webradio@patriots.com.
Bill doesn't agree that Stidham's the guy.
Maybe Bill needs to get off his high ass.
Live from our studios inside Gillette Stadium, here's Hardy.
Patriots lose 22-12 to the Dolphins in Miami and lose the path in the process. They got off the path. They can't get back on the path.
The path is
They're
blocked
off
forever.
They're off the beaten path.
That's path metaphor insert here. Right?
Yep.
So here's where we are. We need to wrap up with the injuries here, and then we'll get to your phone calls. 855-PATS-500. The big one's Stephon Gilmore, but maybe not as bad as we initially thought.
According to Rappaport. But real quick, I do think that it's worth mentioning on the bad list. Like, I just don't understand why Sony Michel was not giving more carries in this game. It doesn't make much sense to me at all, but we talked about that a little bit. Yeah, the Gilmore thing did not look good, but Rappaport says it might not be as serious, and it might not be a knee injury even.
It's weird. I mean, it didn't look like a traditional ACL where you kind of see the leg go. It just kind of slipped.
I'm just going to throw this out. First of all, I don't think we'll see him the last two games. I don't think he'll play. This is the Fred Kirsch theory that I happen to wholeheartedly agree with. It's like territoriality.
Right.
Hardy?
Just a theory
that I happen to agree with. I happen to agree with Fred's theory on bad teams who suffer a lot of injuries along the way.
Oh, yeah.
Guys look for reasons.
Yeah.
I don't think you'll see Gilmore, but I'm also going to say this in Gilmore's defense. Rappaport is pretty tight, I think, with the Gilmore camp. Mm-hmm. And Gilmore probably wants to put forth that impression that he's okay.
Yes.
And I don't think he's going to play the last two games of the year. So how does he make it out to be he's okay? He's going to get traded.
Suitors.
He's looking for suitors.
Right.
And that's my guess. Again, I'm just throwing it out here. It just happened, right? It just happened.
Makes sense.
Right. And I know Rappaport said what he said, and I'm just thinking maybe he's doing the agent a solid. Maybe.
Could be.
Because that looked like it was a significant injury.
You may want to let that breathe a little. Nope.
You're going to be up all night?
I love you love football. My husband tells me you're in football. I never heard it put that way before.
All they do is watch football and make baby sharks.
That's right. That's right. All right.
We could do Jaws all
we could mix in.
Wait till the next couple of weeks.
This was no boat accident.
We might need to talk about that, by the way.
We've already had a little off-air meeting about that. Other injuries today.
So unfortunately, yes.
David Andrews came out at the end, which I don't know what that was announced.
Calf.
It's a
cough.
He's got a calf.
Jawan Bentley, that was a disappointing one. I mean, granted the run defense has been pretty bad, but that was still another huge blow to them. I mean, he's one of their most aggressive guys there in the middle. So that obviously did not help as well. One more I'm not thinking of.
Johnny Simon.
Johnny
with a hammy.
Weird.
So and
soft body.
I don't know for sure about Simon, but the other three were replaced and didn't come back.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is like first time in a couple of games that's
not good.
That's sort of been an issue. Yeah, it's definitely. I think the Fred Kirsch theory is in full effect.
Yeah. I mean, you want to take a silver lining out of this. Whatever injuries you sustain
There's
this week,
only 2 weeks left.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
doesn't.
I know. Well, that's what I wrote is any other season, Stephon Gilmore goes down in week 15. You're getting ready for a playoff.
Oh yeah, and I'm not saying it doesn't matter that these guys are hurt, especially when it comes to Gilmore and any player. When no one wants, but is it not serious? Okay, good. Doesn't really matter.
That's be okay next year.
Yeah. That's right.
That's the extent
That's right.
of it.
Yeah. Would you even be okay for next week? Don't worry about it. It doesn't matter.
I had somebody on the blog ask, will you be mad at me if I'm okay with us losing to the Jets? And the answer is no. I mean, if it means ruining their number one overall, then I'm okay laying down for them.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a little weird for all of us these last 2 weeks.
Let's go to Eric in New Jersey to lead us off here on the Patriots postgame show. Eric, what do you got for us?
Hey, do you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I just think that CBS needs to turn the game on black and white when the Patriots offense goes out there. This is getting ridiculous. The Stephon injury, just to touch on that real quick, I'd say if it's a torn ACL, I think that brings him back there next year. I just don't think he's going to be able to trade him when he wants a new contract. I just don't think you're going to get anything of value for him. But Paul, you said Sony Michel, he was running the ball hard. I don't understand the game plan. And then, is this the end for Cam? Come on, 12 points is the offense. I understand King, whatever, the fumble. I think that was a bad pass to Ossie. Nikhil got stopped by Byron Jones on the one throw that you guys mentioned, but I'm not here to make excuses. This is pitiful. The brand of football that they're putting out there, it's just not entertaining. I know, like I said, you're gonna win ugly games. I know it's the NFL. You take them how you can get them, but just the product that's being put out there is just pitiful. Like I said, I know they're working with the guys that they have, and I'll take it off the line. But next week, you gotta see what Stidham has at this point. You gotta see him. I take it, and I'll tune in to you guys this week. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric.
Eric, we're gonna be talking about this a lot today and in the coming weeks. But listen, I foolishly believe, things that I'm told 2-3 times in a row to the point where I'm told not to even ask about them anymore. Huh. Cam is our quarterback. I have no reason to believe that Cam is not going to start again.
Well, what if now that they're out, mathematically they're out of the playoff picture? What if he puts in Stidham? And he looks better throwing the ball, but the production isn't any better. Is it fair to judge Stidham based on the condition of this team?
You can't put Stidham in and run the risk of him looking better, because then you have everybody going and saying, why didn't you play him 7 weeks ago?
You want to give Freddie?
Well, that's a good conspiracy theory too.
I don't know if Fred.
You can't start him now.
Were you listening to the pregame?
I might have missed that part.
Hardy has an interesting twist on the whole Cam as our quarterback.
Go ahead, lay it out. You'll say it better than I can.
No, I think
time.
I think
it's your territory.
Yeah, it's your theory.
It is my theory that and tell me if I'm restating it accurately, that it is Bill's wish to play Cam because he is our quarterback for this team, because he knew they weren't going anywhere and it didn't make a difference.
He knew they were out of it, so you might as well just play Newton.
That he's our quarterback.
He didn't let's face it.
There was no
patch. Like going into today, you could argue that if they went 10-6, if they beat the Rams and they ran the table and went 10-6, they'd have a shot. Right. But once they lost to the Rams, the path was pretty much closed to almost everybody. There were a few stragglers, but Hardy's point was Bill knows they're out of it.
People took that to mean Cam's our quarterback. He's given us the best chance to win. No. Dummies, we're not winning anything this year. Cam's our quarterback. I'm not going to put in a guy who either might be the guy and get him hurt or ruin his confidence, or worst case scenario, goes in there and looks great, and then I got everybody chewing me out for the next however long left in this season and all the offseason, saying you should have played him when it was obvious that Cam was not up to the job.
So he's kind of the opposite of conventional wisdom, and I don't think he's necessarily wrong. I think it's just a different take on it. Everybody thinks he's going to keep playing Cam as long as they're in it because he feels like they have a shot.
He knew they were out.
Hardy thinks they knew they were out of it. That's why he's playing Cam.
Right.
I just wonder if they get sick of they're trying to manufacture stuff with Cam Newton and just said, you know what, let's just put Stidham in there. Maybe it's a little bit less trying to reinvent the wheel every week and try to, we got to mix this and just go with a conventional kind of passing, hand the ball off, throw the ball.
And now you got Buffalo next week. Not real well, although the Miami win I think gets Buffalo's attention because now they still want to win. They want to finish strong. They want to win the division outright, even though they've clinched the division.
Yeah, and I think they want to win here. I think
I
still think
there's a chance they're on autopilot next week. And if you throw Stidham in there, and they haven't really prepared for Stidham all week.
Well, if you were Buffalo though, would you be a little worried about being on autopilot next week? You know what I mean? Like not to say.
Oh no, I don't think that. Yes, I wouldn't be on autopilot. Yeah. I'm just as a team that's never been there. I wonder if they will be.
That's what I wonder.
Can you imagine? Stidham goes out there and as 5 touchdown passes and maybe 1 pick, and he finds N'Keal Harry again in the end zone, and he finds Jacoby Myers, and he's out there and he's making plays and he's scrambling out and he's
People will ask that question. There's no doubt. Why
Fred,
did you do this?
Fred,
earlier?
they should, people should ask.
By the way,
doubt.
he should get that question today about the quarterback, even though he said that's the last time I'm answering it.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to Todd in Greenville, North Carolina. Hello, Todd. Welcome into the postgame show. Please, Todd.
Oh, no.
Please clap.
Sorry, Todd. Sorry, Todd.
I think he's there.
No.
Fred, stand up and empty your pockets. Do you have a burner phone? Is this you? All right. Fine. We will go to Brandon in Atlanta. Hello, Brandon. Welcome to the postgame show. What's up?
Hey, well, first of all, I'd just like to thank all of y'all, all 4 of y'all, for what y'all have done this season because, this was not a season that Patriots fans are used to. And, as many losses as I had to experience and embarrassing ones on top of that, like watching and listening to the post-game show and pre-game show too, but post-game show really did help. So I thank y'all for y'all service. And, I'll still sit here in front of my TV and watch these last 2 pointless games and cheer my team on like they are playing for something. But, it's just real difficult. But my question is, as far as, going forward, we need a lot. And we got a little bit of cash in as far as free agency. And the draft is going to be important. We're going to be picking very high, higher than we usually pick every year. So I was just wondering what y'all see being the most important area to work on, because the run defense is trash, and maybe Hightower comes back. There's been rumblings of him possibly retiring. We clearly need a quarterback and better skilled players. I don't know if there's anybody to keep. I guess Myers is turning out to be pretty good. So I'm just wondering, where do you think we should go, or where Belichick might go as far as moving forward next year?
There isn't a place on this team where they won't, depending on who leaves, where they won't need help. And that's why I'm saying you're going to have to have patience next year. If you think they're going to turn this around and be 12-4 next year, I just don't think it's going to happen. We're going to take next year to continue this process.
Yeah, and especially, and Brandon, thank you for the phone call, especially when you're going to have to play Buffalo twice. Now, I don't know about
Miami twice.
I don't know about Miami yet, but I think based on not what we saw today, because that wasn't really, they had their issues too. But is it reasonable to think that you're going to lose at least one to Miami next year, regardless of what you do?
I think you're looking at 1-3
You did that
in
with
those
Brady
4
here.
games. Going into the year, you're looking at 1-3 against those teams. They're better than you right now, both of those teams.
Yeah.
I mean, just look at the standings.
Yeah.
If nothing else, just look at the standings. Right?
Yeah, right.
Now, what's Miami now? 9-5? Right? 9-5.
Is that real? That doesn't even sound real to me right now.
And you were 6-8.
Yeah.
You're 3
They are 9-5.
You're 3 games out of second.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think for me it starts on the offense, and I just think you need a quarterback and you need at least 2 weapons, quote unquote, that move the needle. That whether it's a veteran who can play, a very promising high-round rookie, I think you need at least that just to compete, because defensively I think they could figure it out. They can rebuild. There's no question they need to do stuff, but I'm not as worried. I just think an offense is so hard to build. It's so hard to find guys that can click and know what they're doing out there and are explosive and can challenge these teams, because right now it's just this offense is not, they haven't scored in, what would you say, Fred, 9 quarters?
They haven't scored a touchdown in 9 quarters.
I mean, it's just that's completely below the bar. And as bad as the run defense has been, and as much as I want to rail on that, I think those things can figure out, especially when you have a good offense. It's easier to play complementary defense. And, I just feel like the defense is getting hung out to dry a lot this year because there's no long drives. There's no, field position battle. There's no feeling that,
hope.
Oh, shoot, we gave one up there.
I think in general, I think that's 1,000% true. Today, I don't really think it was the case.
Yeah,
I mean, you pin a punt down at the 2-yard line and, I'm sorry.
At this point, the ship has sailed. I feel like on
I
all
think
of it.
Your larger
generally,
point. Your larger point is 100% true. Like they just have not. They haven't gotten any support whatsoever from their offense at all. And this is how bad the offense has been. I actually look at a day like today. They scored 4 field goals. Mike, would you say 2 for 9 on third down?
Yeah.
I actually think there were times where they looked reasonably competent on offense today. That's today, I thought, represented I don't know, I want to say improvement over last week for sure.
At least Cam was completing a few passes today.
And there was some like traditional, where it wasn't just we're going to run, then we're going to have a hard play action, we're going to dump it to the flat, catch them, and get 11 yards out the back end. No, he was like some of those passes to Jacoby Myers were not, routine. Like I thought they actually looked like he threw for over 200 yards. That's how far they've come. That's how far they've dropped. I'm looking at a day where they go 2 for 9 on third down, they fail to score a touchdown and score 12 points, and I'm like,
One of their better days.
Wasn't bad.
They're getting better.
Wasn't their worst. Wasn't their worst.
By June, we should be there.
How did that 45-0 happen?
Just
the
Chargers totally.
You block a field goal for a touchdown.
Yeah.
You return an interception, whatever. Was it not an interception? It was a fumble, right?
Yeah.
For a touchdown. Like, that's how those things happen.
Yeah. I mean, it's just when the games.
Punt return.
It's
It was
remarkable.
A blocked field goal and a punt return.
It's remarkable how it just was how the games would unfold, and it's each time they kind of get going and the other team makes some mistakes and they get out in front. Now the other team can't really run the ball and they're throwing at Gilmore and J.C. Jackson and it all fits together.
And Fred, that was a long time ago. It was like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, right.
A lot can happen. Steven
Jets, by the way, with a 10-0 lead on the Rams.
Steven, Miami, what's up?
Well, first, there's 4 of you. I have 4 questions, but first for Paul. Paul,
Steve.
I realize that the next All Access is going to begin with you and Mike again at the beginning of the show. Because every time every time the Patriots lose, you guys begin with Steve first in the beginning. But the question I have for you, when you make your picks, why do you always go before Mike Reese?
In general, that's how we do the show. I don't know why it worked out that way, but usually when Steve starts it, he throws out the topics, I answer, and then Mike responds to that. That's how we do it.
Okay, I was just wondering.
It's not something that like, Paul, you have to go first. But that's kind of the way we've done it for years now.
All right, that's question 1.
Okay. Well, no, actually, here we go. First of all, how sad of a season is it that the MVPs of the team are the 2 kickers? Second of all, I'd like to have somebody answer this question. We traded for Isaiah Ford. He never got a chance. Miami has him back. What happened with Ford that he couldn't stick with the Patriots? Also, the tight ends. I don't know why Jordan's not trying to start. I mean, their backup tight end did better than all of our tight ends every game this year. And the 4th and final pick is Stidham. I love Cam's attitude and smiles and all that, but field goals are it with him, basically. I'd like to see what the Patriots have in Stidham. And I asked Fred this on the chat. Thank you, Fred, for putting it on, and thank you for the entire season. But I think a lot of people, including analysts outside of New England, are saying it's time to check on Stidham and what he can do. So those are my questions. Thank you very much, and Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thanks.
Thank you.
You too, Steve. Isaiah Ford, was he dealing with an injury early on?
Not really.
No,
he got beat out by Moncrief.
Yeah.
Right?
It doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
He had 3 catches on 3 targets today.
No, he spoke one time while he was here. He complained on that call maybe 3 times about how cold it was and that he needed to buy a jacket. And right in there, and I was like, I don't think this guy's long for New England. I didn't think it was going to be that short, but he was back in Miami before you even knew it. And I think they still have to probably give him a draft pick for him.
They do. According to Mike Reese, they do.
Yeah.
That to me didn't make any sense, though. Like, you're going to go out, you're going to go through the trouble of acquiring a guy at the trade deadline to see if you can work with him, and you work with him for 3 weeks, and then you let him go. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. And I'm not saying, they blew it, Isaiah Ford. No, like, Isaiah Ford is a complimentary piece.
I tell you what.
At best.
And why not take a look at Stidham and everyone, because he might be good. That's why. That's why you can't do it.
Well, that's really bad if that's the reason, by the way. And I think you owe it to
Paul.
I think you owe it to the rest of the team, and you owe it to yourself. If Bill Belichick,
Cam Newton is our quarterback, I won't be entertaining that question again. Don't ask me again who's starting. It's Cam Newton.
Well, something tells me in about 5 minutes when we listen for Bill Belichick, someone's going to ask him.
I just answered this question.
Yeah, we're going to ask it again because new information that has surfaced since.
And then his other comment about their backup tight ends look better than ours. Our tight ends are barely backup tight ends.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of they just happen to be there because we don't have anyone else.
It's a great point. You know what I was thinking coming in? You know how, because they were talking on EEI, with Christian and Wiggy, the two former tight ends. So obviously it hits really close to home for those guys that they're so weak at that position. And they were talking about the Patriots and how they got in this situation. And I started thinking, Bruce Arians has an utter disdain for the tight end position. He has no use for it whatsoever. And yet, the Bucs had Cam Brate, O.J. Howard, and then they added Gronk. I'll take Gronk off the table because obviously he wasn't going to play for the Patriots. But they have Cam Brate and O.J. Howard. And they don't have any use for a tight end.
And
meanwhile, the Patriots, for the better part of, 15 years,
It's like an ongoing joke.
have liked to use multiple tight ends as a base to their offense. And they have 2 third-round rookies and a 7th-round third-year guy who was constantly injured. Sorry, Claire. And Ryan Izzo. How did we get here? And then people are like, well, Matt Lacoste opted out. Oh, I didn't realize that Kellen Winslow opted out.
Be careful here, Paul.
No, but even Deuce recognizes Matt Lacoste for what he is.
Yeah.
I mean, he hates Brady, but he understands that Matt Lacoste is just a backup.
Scott Chandler was unavailable.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
it
could have.
It's remarkable. They've gotten no production from that in 2 seasons. And as Paul said, I mean, it used to be an ongoing joke, like, how many tight ends are we going to draft this year? None. We're not going to draft any for the last 5 years. We're just going to assume it all until this year.
Have you needed them? Yes, desperately.
but that really, I don't know why it just stuck. I mean, it's obviously been a thing all year, but I was like, Tampa Bay, Bruce Arians openly despises the position. He has no use for it. And he has 2 guys that are, would be so welcome in this offense.
I mean, how many times this year have we seen? And today was the example where, they're starting tight ends out. We got to deal with their backup. And then their backup still does okay at least. Or, it looks at least competent.
My God, Patriots were fortunate they dropped a few. Because they were open all day.
Yeah.
The Jets are now up 13-0 on the Rams.
The Rams.
And not only that,
it's
but
the same Rams team that just handed us our
they're maddening.
Our hat.
Well, it's funny. Your boy,
Los Angeles Rams.
Your boy Beetle Hardy. I was listening to your segment. That I always catch that segment for some reason with R.J. Bell on Fridays. Beetle said that the Rams were favored by 17, and his big pick was that he had to take the Rams because the Patriots lost to the Rams by 21. And there's no way he could perceive the Jets being better than the Patriots.
Beetle just went the opposite of everything you're supposed to do in betting. You can't do transitive properties when you're betting.
No.
You can't.
No question.
Well, this team beat this team.
Oh, my God. And around we go.
Exactly. Michael in Arkansas. What's up, Michael?
Nothing much.
Oh.
All right. Well, thanks for calling.
Thanks for calling.
Oh, no. Go ahead.
Nothing. I'm doing nothing right now, but I still like to comment on how everyone says that we should start Stidham, because who knows, he could be the next greatest thing for us.
That's not why I want to start Stidham, but okay, go ahead.
Also, I feel like if we wouldn't have had so many opt-outs on defense, we would have probably had our stud defense again and probably allowed less points this year.
Yeah, they certainly have their problems personnel-wise. Guys who were unavailable.
Hightower's loss was significant.
Yeah,
that's it. But
not Chung. You don't factor Chung in.
Phillips
I factor him in a little bit.
Well.
Phillips and Duggar have been better.
Yeah. But other than those 2 guys,
I think Chung's one of those guys who you don't expect much out of, and then he ends up making a bunch of plays throughout the course of his season. Yeah. Go ahead and wrinkle up your nose at me, Paul.
I don't think that was a loss.
Chung, you made a difference. But I mean, at the end of the day, I think I would rather have Danny Shelton than.
It's hard to tell. Chung played in a lot of big games. We didn't have a lot of big games this year, so you don't know how Duggar would be in crunch time if we were, we had a game, we had a win to make the playoffs. We don't know, in clutch time how these guys would have been. We know how Chung was,
and I don't understand. The Patriots had 8 opt-outs, and that was the most of any team. But we're talking about Hightower and Chung, right?
Pretty much.
Every other team had a significant guy opt out.
They did.
They did. The Bills haven't been able to stop the run all year. Who opted out for them? Their best run stuffer, Star Lotulelei. Everybody deals with this crap, but and this is, I'm going to get back to like just how different this season has been, but only the bad teams are affected by it. Like that used to be stuff that we used to make fun of the other teams about. Remember, like look at them, like we start anybody next man up. Like now all of a sudden you have a guy opts out, and that unraveled the whole season. Like Dante Hightower isn't playing, so now we can't even get in the way of anybody running the football.
Right, and that's
the worst run offense in football. Ran for 250 yards, and it's because Dante Hightower opted out.
Yeah.
I mean,
and that's like a thing, and I agree with your bigger point, but I also think it just speaks to like how we didn't really ever reinforce those guys. And like remember in that 2015 game against the Broncos, Hightower goes out, and all of a sudden not to say that they're the same teams now, but I just think it just speaks to they've gotten old. The guys that opted out kind of exacerbated the issues that were already coming, and there's no question they need to kind of find something new on defense, because I don't think this is working right now. I don't think this style of defense they're playing is quite in sync with what they want to do. And I think they have to decide this offseason which direction you're going to go.
Well, Christian Sam was a big disappointment.
I thought he was better than Bentley when I first saw him, and then all of a sudden I'm like,
he was supposed to be by some of the draft books.
By the way, I'm not sure that that's not the case.
I know, right? I know. I was shocked by that.
We've let the athlete go for the big power guy. That's back to my old style
Speed.
kind of thing.
Speed.
Sorry, I got distracted for a moment. I had a call from my daughter, and I thought there may be an issue at home. So while you're speaking, I just texted. I said, "Do you need me?" And she said, "Oopsie, I forgot you weren't home."
Just in her cave upstairs.
Is that how you communicate at home? You text each other?
I left the house.
Maybe he has a house like yours where they have different wings.
7.5 hours ago. But okay. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Him.
Bring
that
me
guy.
something.
It's too late now. Mom will be okay.
Yeah, that's what I was expecting. Right. Yeah, or fearful of. Anthony and son of a mother.
It wouldn't be the post game with Hardy.
No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't. Kevin in San Francisco will be there, though. Go ahead, Kevin. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, boys.
Hey.
So normally I listen to the show on my phone, but today I put you guys up on the big board on my TV on YouTube.
Ooh, no.
And I feel bad for you guys. The sunken shoulders, the body language. I mean, can't Mr. Kraft let you cancel the show after a bad game like this?
Hey, we're going to talk about that.
We're going to talk about
maybe not canceling the shows.
No.
Maybe shortening them up a little.
Yeah, tiny bit. Yeah.
20 minutes. That's fine. But anyway,
here comes the game.
No specific questions today, as I enjoy my Jägermeister on the rocks. Thanks to the tip, Hardy.
It's nice, isn't it?
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. I'm putting the scotch in the back for a while and just hitting the Jaeger.
There you go.
Beautiful. So anyway, I'm not, like I said, the game was pretty bad. Obviously, we don't need to get into all those details. You guys have hit on most of the spots there. But, I've been a big proponent of seeing Stidham get in here. And I got to be honest with you, I'm kind of changing my mind now, because I think our best chance of losing these last two games is keeping Cam in and doing things as we keep doing it every week. So I'm now on the Bill train. Cam's my quarterback. Let's go.
Let's
go.
Thanks, Kevin. Thank you. I mean, them finishing the season at 7-9 versus 8-8 doesn't make any difference in draft. I mean, people who want them to lose the last two games.
Few spots.
Doesn't matter.
Few spots. Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm with you, dude.
I just don't think the quarterback, the identity of the quarterback to me doesn't change. Like, let's just say for argument's sake that Bill did want to finish 7-9 instead of 8-8. I don't think the quarterback's identity is tipping the scales either way.
But again, we're going to answer this a lot over the last. Why not Stidham? Well, number one, I think they know that Stidham isn't as good as Cam, and if he were, he would have been in a lot sooner. And if that's the case, no, you don't go with him. If he ends up being a lot better than Cam was, then you have to answer for why you didn't put him in a long time ago.
Yeah.
It's like a lose-lose.
But you also, if he comes in and all right, let's say he comes in and it's not like he comes in and he's awesome. Like maybe there's some ups and some downs, but hey, he has a comeback at the end and it looks real good. And, and then you're not so much talking about why didn't you. Now you're saying, well, hey, maybe there's something for next summer. Maybe we do have something. I don't know. At this point, I put him in. I'm fine with it. I don't know the argument for keeping Cam in there.
See, that's my bottom line. And I think it was Michael in Arkansas. I don't think a lot of people want to see Stidham because they want to see if they have the next Tom Brady or some hidden gem. I think people have just decided that Cam can't play. There's nothing to lose, so why not just see if there's anything worth developing?
Yeah. Well, that's my thing.
All it is.
Last game I just made this. I've given up on Cam. It's just not going to get any better. So let's run a conventional offense. Yeah. Let's just run some plays.
Well, there's a couple of them today. First play of the game is a little play action. Half quick boot. We're gonna want to dump one out to the fullback. Jakob Johnson. He throws it over his head. Like they're the most routine plays that he can't complete. And I just don't understand. And now, how about the one that he had? It was like a little deep hook route, like a 15-yard, and the ball went straight into the ground. I joked with you guys. That was like me in high school. Like he lost control of the point of the ball. Yeah. And it used to happen to me all the time because I sucked.
Too much air in the footballs. It's another problem with Brady not being here. You don't have that whole system.
But that's just don't you feel like you need to kind of change something up for next week? Like, can you just roll the Cam Newton offense back out there again? Like, don't you feel like you need something a little different just to get your team
Do we have anything from Bill yet? Like I've seen a lot of Cam comments.
We do.
Yeah, he did talk. I did.
Here's another.
This should be good.
Short one today.
Here's another reason not to start Jared Stidham, and this is something I got from Zoe. We all talked about why you don't put him in the middle of a game, or you don't give him a short week. You give him the full week. You give him the game plan.
Yeah.
You put him in. You do the practice. Zoe took it a step further. He said, "Yeah, you got to do that for a week, and then you got to do it for another week. You need 3 weeks." You need 3 weeks before you really know what you've got in a quarterback. 1 week of full prep, that'll tell you something. 2 weeks will tell you more. 3 weeks will give you the most, the bare minimum in terms of a baseline assessment for what you have in a starting quarterback.
Especially right now.
And you've only got 2
I
more
agree
weeks.
with that, but that's not. I don't want to put Stidham in now to see what he's got. That's not why I want to put him in.
You just want something
better
to
something
watch.
Different.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
No,
I'm
with
tired.
you. I'm with you.
I just want something different.
And don't you think the team wants that too?
I don't care if they bring in, Fitzpatrick from Miami.
Jake Dolegala.
Whoever. I just want to switch up now.
I don't want it
and
to
I'm
be
not going to
Ryan
judge.
Fitzpatrick. I just want to
and
be on
I'm
record.
certainly, if they do bring in Stidham, I'm not going to judge him, good or bad.
Yeah.
On what he does these next 2 weeks. That's not fair to him.
Yeah.
But I just want to.
I'm not looking to make any grandiose, declarations.
I just want to change it.
Yeah, and I get Zoe's analysis on a starting quarterback. What about a backup quarterback? What if next year he's not the guy? He's a backup.
It's another reason.
He's never played a game before, and he's never started a game. He's only been in mop-up.
Are we set? Are we set at backup?
Are we set there? Yeah.
I know,
we've
never really had to worry about it because we've had Brady and he never gets hurt. But look at how many other good teams occasionally have to plug in a backup quarterback.
Right.
And then
San Francisco, right?
Yeah.
Well,
New Orleans.
I would say more to that point, teams that have put in a backup quarterback and then have had great success with that backup quarterback.
That's my point. Are
the
Patriots prepared for is Stidham capable of doing that?
Right.
No.
Let's say the Patriots. Let's say it's 2 years down the road, and Bill does his magic and overhauls the roster, and suddenly we were a 12-4 team again. And then all of a sudden, our starting quarterback, whoever that may be, let's call him Zach Wilson. I don't know. Let's say he goes down, in week 11. Can we plug in Stidham for 3 games and go 2-1 in those 3 games?
No idea.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But to me, Paul, it's not even about the Band-Aid. It's about, who's the guy who's going to be able to come in here and take over? And it doesn't have to be Nick Foles, but it could be like what happened in Tennessee. It'd be something, to take you and continue on
like
with that
Taysom
guy.
Hill. He went 3-1.
Yeah.
Okay, he did okay.
Right.
It wasn't conventional, but the season didn't end.
Well, that's good
They
too.
went 3-1. In San Francisco, the season did end because Nick Mullins stinks.
Yeah, we're gonna talk to Mike in Rhode Island next, and then Tim and Anthony, and also hear from both the head coach and the quarterback. As our postgame continues, 22-12, the loss to the Dolphins in Miami. This is the Patriots postgame show.
Ready or not. Gillette ProGlide and ProGlide Gel. 5 blades and a pivoting flex ball designed to get virtually every hair on the first stroke while washing away dirt and oil. So you're ready for the day with a clean shave and a clean face.
This is the place to play for $1 million in week 1. DraftKings, land of the millionaire. Football is back, Time to let your competitive streak. Download the app and take your shot at $1 million. DraftKings.
For over 60 years, this team has transformed itself into a championship organization. For over 160 years, our team has demonstrated a similar mentality. There are no days off. Our front lines are fortified by people who sacrifice individuality for the team. Our shelves are also stocked with the best quality products and ingredients. Our team members know their roles. We're proud to do our jobs. Shaw's, the official supermarket of the 6-time champion New England Patriots.
Ready or not. Gillette ProGlide and ProGlide Gel. 5 blades and a pivoting flex ball designed to get virtually every hair on the first stroke while washing away dirt and oil. So you're ready for the day with a clean shave and a clean face.
This is the place to play for $1 million in week 1. DraftKings, land of the millionaire. Football is back. Time to let your competitive streak. Download the app and take your shot at $1 million. DraftKings.
For over 60 years, this team has transformed itself into a championship organization. For over 160 years, our team has demonstrated a similar mentality. There are no days off. Our front lines are fortified by people who sacrifice individuality for the team. Our shelves are also stocked with the best quality products and ingredients. Our team members know their roles. We're proud to do our jobs. Shaw's, the official supermarket of the 6-time champion New England Patriots.
Join the conversation by calling the Ace Ticket hotline at 855-PATS-500 or email the show at webradio@patriots.com.
And you're much nicer talking with Fred about it than you were with me.
Oh, wait.
Live from our studios inside Gillette Stadium, here's Hardy.
22-12, the final from Miami. The Patriots lose to the Dolphins and lose out on any hopes of a postseason. We're here to talk about it with you at 855-PATS-500. Emails webradio@patriots.com. Before we hear from the head coach, let's hear from Mike in Rhode. Oh, wait a second, Mike. Hold on. Mike.
All right.
I just need you to hold. It won't take long. FedEx air and ground players of the game. Paul, Deuce, they drew straws to find out who was going to go first, last, air, ground. What did you guys come up with? What do you got?
I think we got the two players that did the most, or I guess the only real stuff for New England. So through the air, FedEx air player Jacoby Myers, 111 yards through the air, some nice gains, some tough catches, some tough extra yards. Liked what he did. Hopefully, he's one of the bright spots going into next year.
So when do we send the plaque out for him?
Yeah, and then he takes a picture with it, and then
And you know how we send it? FedEx. It'll be there. It'll be there in like 20 minutes.
Of course.
That's
how we have to do it now in COVID times.
But you should use FedEx. Those guys are fantastic. FedEx ground player of the game, Paul?
Yeah, for me, it's Sony Michel. And like I've been saying, pretty much the whole show is I don't understand why he only ended up with 10 carries. But 74 yards, I thought he ran with toughness again, a long of 17. So, again, wasn't like one big run skewed the numbers. He was solid throughout this game, but he just never really got a chance. Let the man cook, I think is the phrase.
Oof.
I don't know why they didn't let him cook, because I think he may have been able to get the ball in the end zone if they had given him the opportunity. 10 carries, 74 yards. He's your FedEx ground player of the game.
When you absolutely, positively have to pick out two players from the Patriots, that's who we pick. Jacoby, see, that's an old FedEx tagline.
Yes.
When it absolutely
positively has to be there overnight.
Right. That's right. All right, Mike, thanks for holding. What do you got for us?
Yeah, no worries, guys. Tough season. We'll get them next year. I had a question about the coaching decisions on the final drive. And this might be a bit of a nitpick, but I was just curious to hear what you guys had to say about it. So obviously the Patriots decided not to kick the field goal. They decided to go for it on 4th and 2. Personally, I thought they should have kicked the field goal, not only just on 4th and 2, but actually as soon as they got into field goal range. I think they got a big first down, and there was about 2.5 minutes left on the clock. I feel like they could have rushed the field goal unit out there and kicked the field goal. They still would have had 2 timeouts plus the 2-minute warning in the event they had to stop Miami if they didn't get the onside kick. Just want to know what you guys thought about that.
Yeah, I wouldn't have had any problem with that. I'm going to look back just to see what the situation was here. Hold, please.
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, I just from watching the game and how I felt about it at the time, I didn't have a problem with it.
He had the white flag up.
I was going to say, I'll tell you what I think Bill Belichick thought, is that the game and the season were over.
Yeah.
And I don't think he was wrong, by the way. But let's look this up here just to see.
And spoiler alert, he knew about it 2 weeks ago when he first said that Cam is our quarterback. That's when he knew it was over.
Riding him down the drain.
That's right.
All right, so they make the play 26 yards to Jacoby Myers. 1st and 10 from the 49. They get, I disagree. It's 11 yards to James White, which sets up 1st and 10 from the 30. And that was the play before the 2-minute warning. I don't think that's a field goal that you kick when you're down 10. Like, to me, you have to make sure that is an automatic field
Layup.
goal. That's a 48-yard field goal there.
Got Nick Folk though, baby.
And then in his defense, like you
But
go out, you make that field goal. You have the
Yeah.
you don't you onside kick, and now you can stop them 3 plays. I think Bill's looking at it as like, we haven't stopped him all day. So we have to get the onside kick to have the time.
But you could justify that strategy.
Absolutely could justify it. And certainly on the 4th and 2, it was actually 4th and 3 from the 23 with 1:16 left. If you want to extend the game, you kick the field goal. I think that's inarguable.
Right.
At 4th and 3, your better chance of extending the game is to kick a field goal. I, however, have no problem with what Belichick did because
I'm gonna go home.
I think the game and the game and the season were over regardless of the result of that play. And if you needed further, so they get sacked on that play and that's game over. And then Miami takes over, and even that they didn't take a knee because Patriots had a couple timeouts. They didn't use the timeouts.
Even that play call, I remember thinking that's a white flag.
Yeah,
you're 4th and 3, and you have a play where Cam's standing in the pocket. It's like you think something's going to happen good there.
No.
You got to roll them out. You got to do something.
What good is going to come of this?
What good come of this?
Yes. Tim in North Carolina, welcome into the postgame show. What's up, Tim?
Hey, guys. First, Paul, I planted that Zach Wilson seed in your head. You've been mentioning.
Were you the one
lot.
with, early in the year? And I had said to you I thought he was a little small.
Paul's a big BYU guy.
Like
the arm is there. There's no doubt. You had a good scouting report, Tim. I like his arm.
Yeah, he's a beast. They lost the Coastal, but that was tough.
Well, that's actually the game that really sold me on him, is that last drive.
Yeah.
I thought he was very impressive on that last drive.
Heartbreaker. But I wanted to say, I think this game kind of supported what Hot Mike was getting all hot about. Like, the young guys, when do you see a lot of Patriots, have to come out rookie season, a bunch of them all together without being platooned in? Duggar, since I think Kansas City, has pretty much been a starter. And a couple mental errors today, but, geez, he is really showing, he was shedding blocks and going after people. Like, he's good. Uche's good. Owenyu's out there starting.
Yeah, Perrin started left tackle.
Playing in, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know yet. Like, I'm glad these young guys are playing because that's what not to sound like it's about me, but that's what I've been calling for is to get these guys some. But I don't know how good they are yet. I'll be like, it's a terrible defense. It's a terrible defense right now, and you guys were right, and I was wrong. Someone asked during the week how this defense was in your mind. Remember, was it average, below average, above average? And I said average. You guys said below.
Average.
You guys were right. It's below average.
Sure
you guys were right. I was wrong.
All right, Tim.
Well, if you add the guys that opted out, maybe it's average. I think it.
Well, you're not going to add the guys that opted out because certainly Hightower is more than likely gone. But I don't know where the guys are coming from. It's Hightower and Chung.
Yeah.
Like, who else?
Well, at least
opted
you're
out?
giving. Well, yeah. And we can debate and did earlier in the show how much an impact Chung would have made. I still think he would have been in there on a few plays. But to Fred's point, in big games he showed up. How many big games have they played this year? Big games for the Patriots. It's like now
Chung is fine. Like,
they got the player, and
they got two
if
players
Marcus
that have
Cannon
done.
was here, Onwenu might not even have played.
If Marcus Cannon was here, he would have gotten cut because they would have realized how good Onwenu was in training camp.
Anthony and Columbus.
Wow, Hardy, you're just unbelievable.
And there it is.
But I do want to thank Tim. I know he hung up, but because Tim he's absolutely right. He did.
Zach Wilson.
He planted that Zach Wilson seed, and I started watching him a little bit closer on his recommendation, and I think that was a good one.
And he could be available.
Doesn't look like he will be now.
Oh, yeah?
But
because of the Coastal Carolina game?
But it's possible. No, because of his season.
Oh.
He had an incredible season.
Do you want the first of what we have several emails along these lines?
Fire away.
This is from Robert in the UK.
Thank you, Robert.
Hi, lads. Well, that is how you go through the motions and get smashed. Quarterback who's good for nothing, a defense who cannot tackle a yellow flag. Do not turn up versus Buffalo next week. Take the time off to read a book on how to play football, Mr. Belichick. Give up at the end of the season. Your time is up.
Hey, you got one.
You
Ready.
and your
You
coaches
got one.
have had 13 weeks.
You're up to 5
to get this team to improve. And we're the only team in the NFL that is not improved.
Really? How the Jets look?
Some pretty bad teams out
How
there.
the Jaguars look?
The Jets are looking pretty good right
Jaguars
now.
We
can't even beat the Rams.
The Jaguars gave up over 40 to a team. You guys all took the Jaguars in the points because Baltimore, and they gave up 40 plus.
I'm just saying,
are they improving?
It's a bad time to be asking that, as the Jets are up over the Rams right now. Ricky in Norwich, UK, hearing Mike lose it over a kicker midweek made my day, especially when we have the man, the myth, the folk law. What?
Folklore?
I don't know.
Lore, he means. Yeah.
All right. Without him, what would we be? My prediction for next season? Free agent special teamers all flock to New England for a chance to play with our new franchise players. Stay safe. Ricky in Norwich, UK.
That's good. That's good.
Well, that's maybe overselling the importance of the kicker, but I'm happy. I'm happy that he was, once again on the good list. Tony in Canada. What do you got, Tony?
You got to replace, by the way.
Hey guys, just calling back again. Something about I wanted to bring up an idea about Cam and see what you guys think about it. But I could give you a reason why Belichick may not want to put in Stidham for the rest of the season. And it might have more to do with Cam than Stidham. Think about this. If Belichick hasn't exactly moved away from Cam and he's considering bringing him back next season, or at least contemplating the thought, would he sit him out for the rest of the year? I don't think so. So tell me what you guys think about that. I'd like to listen on.
Well, you're right there. If Cam was really the quarterback like Tom was, Tom never came out of a game.
Cam's not coming back next year.
He never got sat at the end of a season. He always played it out.
Fred.
What?
When did Tom Brady ever deserve to get
No, I'm just saying
benched?
Like if he's saying if he wants Cam, if Cam's the
He
guy,
doesn't hurt his feelings now.
That
He
makes
wants to
sense.
keep
but
him up.
but there's no way.
I
There's
don't
no
see
way.
how there could be any
Cam's
way.
not coming back next year.
No, I don't think so.
Like,
even as a backup, we were talking about the importance of the backup position and how a backup can, help save your season or even improve upon your season. Cam's not going to do that for you.
I just can't
Cam's not going to be Cam's not even
They're
going to be a
not.
Band-Aid.
They're not going to re-sign him.
Aaron in PEI. He says, terrible effort by the team. They couldn't beat a CFL team the way they played today. Well, there's some good CFL teams. The Alouettes, I think they're good. The fact that Miami...
My cousin played for them.
Your cousin played for the Montreal Alouettes?
Yeah, he left the Rams to go to the Alouettes. A huge contract, got like $4 million a year, which back in the early 80s, that was a lot of money.
Your cousin?
Yeah, Vince Ferragamo.
In Canadian.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know he played for Montreal.
Then he came back to the Rams.
Okay. The fact that Miami beat us with primarily their backup players was disgusting to watch. Let's hope the rebuild comes quickly in 2021. If we're talking about this and we're talking about all the positions of need for the Patriots, and if it is in fact a full-on rebuild as opposed to a retooling or anything else you want to say, what's a reasonable timeline?
I think I'm going to give him a pass probably next year, but then after that, some kind of progression.
I agree. I think
you got to make the playoffs the year after.
Well, at the very least, you need to be an ascending team, and I think 2 years. I think because I'm going to give this one the pass. Next year is when the rebuilding really starts because Deuce talked about it in the pregame. All those guys that are up, and they're going to have to make decisions on those guys, figure out who they're going to bring in, and then you get a year, and then 2 years from now, you want to say, okay, this is a team that should be winning some games, like Cleveland.
Yeah.
Right, Cleveland, they brought all those guys in. They brought in Landry, they brought in OBJ, second year for Baker Mayfield, and they, were a big disappointment last year. But now you see, Mayfield third year, and you're ready to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's what I would like to see for the Patriots. But the big thing is the identity of the quarterback.
Yeah.
And that's what separates. That's why it's hard to say, well, they should be here at year X. Well, yeah, if they get a quarterback this year that you can build with for 2021, then by 2022 you should be knocking on the door. If you don't, if Jameis Winston is the guy and you're in the same spot next year because Jameis Winston comes in, doesn't work out, and he throws a bunch of interceptions.
Yeah. You'd hope that at least the rest of the team is starting. Maybe, those are, but I agree. And I just think this is the COVID year, and next year is year zero. You want this year to be year zero, but I think next year is year zero.
Before we hear from the coach, an email from Tony says, late last season, many all over Pat's Nation, including a couple on Patriots Unfiltered, wanted to move on from the deity. And one even said a rebuild would be fun. Are you bleeping me?
There's only one on PU that wanted that.
And that is?
Deuce.
Okay. What the Messiah did with Paul and Eric at wide receiver and Fred at tight end was pretty darn good. And now this season, those who wanted to move on can see just how good. Tony.
Yeah. Well, if Tony wants to show me the way that this season could have been successful, I'd love to see. I'd love to hear his thoughts on that.
Are you having any fun, though?
Oh, yeah. I'm having a blast.
Come on.
Can't you tell how much fun he has when we watch these games in here when they're on the road?
I'm not a front runner.
He looks like he wants to,
comes with
he
the
looks
job.
like he wants to throw up right on the desk.
But I love team building, and I love the thought of this
I do too. Let me know when it starts.
I get it. We got to watch them lose some games, but it's how it goes.
Yeah,
what do
so
you want?
make it sound like the winning and losing is the part that it's the team building part that I'm worried about.
No.
Here's someone who says we can just live vicariously through Tommy in Tampa for the rest of the season. You want to do that? Just root for the Buccaneers.
Well, I don't think I'm alone in not wanting to root for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I don't know. It's not like they're 16-0 and everything is gravy down there. I mean, they're having challenges too. So
they're average at best, and they're going to be one and done in the playoffs.
It's a hard process, and I think what you come back to is I wish that they could have figured it out. I wish the Patriots could have said back in like 2016. You know what? Tom Brady is going to have a longevity that is unheard of. Let's just go for it. Let's keep him happy. Let's keep, him in place. And, they didn't want to do that, though. And you understand why, because it's unprecedented for a guy to be in his early 40s and having success like this. But, it all got away from him, and there's no question mistakes were made, and it's unfortunate that they're here right now. But, it's football, and this is a whole nother side of it that the Patriots haven't experienced in a while, and certainly a lot of fans have never experienced before. But this is part of sports. I mean, I've played on crappy teams. I've been parts of, not where I had to, oh my gosh, I have to watch a team get killed I got to play in a game where teams get killed.
Where's the worst team you ever played?
My sophomore year hockey team, and we were terrible, and that was sophomore year high school, and then we were never really I've never really been a bad team again, but that's life, that's sports, and that's what part of the fun of it is finding these new guys and how are we going to climb out of this hole. So I do still see it as fun. It may not be enjoyable, but I enjoy football. I enjoy the process of team building and all that. So, hey, let's go.
He does make me laugh. There's anything about this year that's been enjoyable.
To quote John Voight in The Rainmaker, this is no fun for me. It's no fun for me.
But look at me. I mean, what the hell? I was a blogger 2 years ago. Like, so these guys have been sitting here watching Super Bowls. Like, this is, like.
Well, it's not about this. Like, it's not even about necessarily the level of success. Because I've been a part, not necessarily around here, but as a Patriots fan, when Bledsoe got here, like that 5-11 season, the way that season ended, you could absolutely sell yourself that this was fun.
Yeah.
Like they lost. Remember, they were 1-11, and they lost a ton of really excruciating games, and then all of a sudden, they finally found a way to win some of those, and you were like, I can see it. They're building to something.
Yeah,
I haven't seen any of that.
When you win 4 straight to end a season.
No, but they were 1-11, Hardy. And even when they were 1-11, it was frustrating as hell, but you could see it. You could see we got the kid, and he's going to get better, and they're going to get over the hump. You could see it. You had promise. I don't see any of that.
And that's
to
good.
To that college point earlier, it's like, Duggar's good. And Uche, I don't know that. I don't know, like, they play, but I don't know if that means they're really good. I like them. See, I like both of those players, but I don't know how good they are.
I'd be with Deuce in, being intrigued by not having fun, but intrigued by the rebuilding. If Cam could play quarterback, and I don't mean like at an MVP level. I just mean like a professional NFL quarterback.
We've got that locked down.
Because then at least on a given drive, there's a chance they could score if they string together some plays.
I could be convinced.
That's what's killing it for me this year.
If it were, I could be convinced this were fun if you had, to that point, Fred, one or two of your key positions filled. Like, okay, it's not kind of ugly, but you got the quarterback. Kind of ugly, but that's a wide receiver. And you get the right quarterback. You don't have your quarterback. You don't have a real wide receiver. You have the inkling of something that might be there in Myers.
You don't have a wide receiver. You don't have a tight end. You don't have an edge rusher. You don't have a run stopper. You don't have a linebacker.
You got a kicker.
You don't have
and you
anything.
really don't have a kicker because his contracts.
No, I mean, you're right.
He's part-time.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's see what the head coach has to say after the 22-12 loss to the Dolphins in Miami, and we want to thank you. We want to thank our sponsor, Microsoft Surface, the official sideline technology provider and laptop of the NFL and the New England Patriots, provides players and coaches the tools to succeed both on and off the field. Check out the amazing Surface Pro 7 2-in-1 laptop on their site, surface.com. Here's the head coach.
I'll go ahead with opening comments, Coach, and then we'll take questions.
Yeah, well, it's obviously a disappointing day for us. We didn't do anything really well enough to win the game. We just didn't coach well enough, didn't missed opportunities, and Miami is just better than we were today. So that's the bottom line. We all just came up short. So to win these games, we got to do a better job. I got to do a better job, and collectively as a staff and a team, we got to perform better than this.
We're going to open up with questions. We'll start with Mike Reese, followed by Ben Volen.
Hey, Bill, what do you think contributed to the run defense struggling today?
I have to coach better. We got to play better. We got to tackle better. It's a combination of all those things.
At the end of the game, down by the 10, how much consideration was there to maybe kick the field goal just to get 3, hopefully on the board, and then knowing you needed a touchdown after that instead of going for it?
Yeah, we thought about it as 4th and 2, so we still gonna need a touchdown at some point. So try to pick it up on 4th and 2, but we didn't.
And the last one, did you have a chance at all to catch up with Stefan, and just any update on him?
No, I don't have any update.
Next question, Ben Volen, followed by Doug Kyde.
Hey, Bill, you guys had them pinned back deep a few times today. We're doing pretty well with field position. Then they sustained several long drives. How frustrating was that?
Yeah, we didn't do a good job in those situations where we had the field position. We didn't keep it and couldn't get the ball back to the offense in good field position. Took them on a long field too many times. So yeah, that all certainly contributed to the performance of the day.
Certainly a hallmark of your team over the last 20 years has been improvement throughout the season. It's now the second straight week. The run defense has been gassed pretty badly. Just what do you see going on there? How frustrating is that?
Yeah, all the things I just said. Same again, but it's all the same things.
Next question, Doug Kyde.
Bill, there were a couple of instances where receivers would
their season high entering today. How do you explain your run defense?
To talk over that. There were a couple of instances where receivers would fumble the ball immediately after catches. I'm assuming that's something that you guys work on quite a bit. How do you work on improving that?
We just keep working on it. It's nothing more important than ball security. And ours wasn't good enough. We didn't have good enough ball security today. Didn't hurt us as much as it could have, but it hurt us, and it'll hurt us more if we don't do a better job with it.
Next question, Steve Sanchez, followed by Phil Perry.
Hi, Bill. What do you tell the gentlemen in the locker room, after this loss, to fight for the rest of the season? Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what we do.
Next question, Phil Perry, followed by Ian Steele.
Bill, was there anything with their run game that they threw at you guys today that was new or unexpected? I know they had some key pass catchers that were out for them, so I'm curious if anything changed with their run game today from what you'd seen before this week.
I think I've already talked about that, Phil. So we got to do a better job of coaching. We got to do a better job of playing, defeating blocks, and we certainly got to do a better job of tackling. So it's a combination of all those things.
Next question, Ian Steele, followed by Tara Sullivan.
Hi, Bill. With this loss, you guys were eliminated from playoff contention, first time since 2008. Just wondering your reaction to that.
Yeah, well, disappointed, but we didn't deserve to win today. So
Next question, Tara Sullivan, followed by Ben Volen.
I was going to ask you that, Bill. So does it, I know it's hard to maybe look ahead already, but does it change your message at all with your players that the playoffs are officially off the table?
no, not too much.
Next question, Ben Volen, followed by Andrew Callahan.
Bill, just wondering what happened on the 12 men on the field penalty there.
We had a substitution error.
You're disappointed that this late in the season you're still having things like that?
Of course.
And it looks like the last question is Andrew Callahan.
Bill, sorry, jumping in late here if you've already been asked this, but in the second half, they get 3 touchdowns there on their first 4 possessions. Anything schematically that you saw that was a significant adjustment from the first half?
No, not really.
Is there anything you would explain away or ascribe that big jump in their performance, at least from a scoring standpoint there, from what you had seen in the first half?
No, it's pretty much a continuation of the same thing.
Thanks.
Thank you, Coach. Thanks, everyone.
All right, well, at least we got an answer on the 12 men on the field penalty.
There it is.
There was a substitution error.
No one dared ask
I got to turn
about
my mic
Cam.
on? My mic's on.
Yeah.
My mic's on.
Yeah.
I can't hear you at all.
You can't hear me? I can hear you.
I can hear him.
I hear him.
We can hear you.
Everybody, yeah.
There's a glitch on my end. I'm sorry,
Okay.
guys.
All right, very good. Anything else stand out from the coach?
So hold on. Yeah, this stands out to me on the Twitter machine.
Yeah.
Sports Center, like the Sports Center Twitter handle. They have a thing with Belichick, and it just says eliminated. The Patriots have been eliminated for playoff contention, breaking their 11-year streak. Asante Samuel retweets it with Tom Brady, ...
Troll.
Troll.
Yeah. Oh,
Big
yeah.
time troll.
Yeah. That's good.
I mean, it is, that is what happened. The last time you didn't make the playoffs was the season that Tom Brady didn't.
But a lot of people will tell you they don't think it would be any different if Tom Brady was still the quarterback.
Yeah,
There's no way. They would be at least 10-6.
We had
with this team with Tom Brady.
We had a huge argument on the air about this at the beginning of last week to kind of start things. It may have actually been on Friday of last week after the Rams loss. And it was really in relation to one play in particular. It was the Cam Newton interception against the Rams.
Yeah.
About how any quarterback in the league could be capable of throwing that. I said, but
that was a dumb argument. Not by you, by Beadle. Trying to say any quarterback in the league. I see quarterback. I've never seen people lead a back on a screen.
And if they do 5 things better than that to make up for it. That was the standout play for Cam Newton in that game. That's the one that you take away and think about.
And the three of us talk about this a lot on Patriots Unfiltered. Mike, Fred, and I. Yeah, you can look at the Rams game and you can say, well, yeah, that pick, but there's no way Brady throws that pick. Yeah, but that's not really the correlation to what would it be like with Brady. We have no idea. They're not going into games throwing the ball 16 times if Tom Brady's the quarterback.
Right.
Even with the same weapons. They're not going to line it up and try to run the ball 50 times a game the way they do now. They're not going to have Tom Brady running read options the way they do now.
It would be totally different.
Everything is different. And how the defense is able to adjust to the differences that you have when Brady. To me, that was why the Patriots had a little bit of success offensively early in the season. His teams weren't quite ready to go and defend how they were going to
give up on the pass.
Right, the first 3 games, it took them to finally say, okay, they're really not going to throw the ball.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're certainly not going to throw it down the field. And it took a little while for teams to come to grips with that. And now you see the way teams defend them. There's no telling how that would change if Brady were the quarterback and if he'd be able to have some success. Oh. It's almost impossible to know. I kind of agree with Fred. You're 6-8 with absolutely no semblance of a passing game. I think you'd be better than that if you had a semblance of a passing game.
And your running game might be better, too, because you actually have a passing game
Correct.
to lighten those boxes up
which was a
bit.
big Pauly point in the offseason, if you remember.
Yeah.
Do you how many times did they run the ball with nobody expecting them to run it
but
when
still,
Brady was there?
Even if Brady was here, they're not going to beat Kansas City. Like they're
No,
still going to be.
no.
You're not going to win every
5, 6, 7 games.
I think they would have been like. I think they would have been like last year,
Yeah.
and they wouldn't have been as good as the better teams. But they would have been a playoff team that was going to go
Plus,
1-0.
if Brady was here, they'd have brought back Antonio Brown.
And Kansas City is kind of a bad example because they were in that game. They had a chance
They
in
were.
that game.
Right, but I think if Brady played, it would have been different.
I'm not saying that, every loss is a win, but I think it's reasonable to say you're 8-6 instead of 6-8.
Yeah.
And
I think
you
that's
still got
reasonable.
a shot.
Sure, that's reasonable.
All right, let's take one call, and then we will take one more break and come back and hear from Cam Newton today. But first, we'll go to Jim in Florida. Jim, thank you for holding. You're on the postgame show. What's up?
Hey, guys. How you doing? How
Real
you doing,
good.
Paul, Fred? It's the old Jim. They're down here in Florida. You're Captain. We used to radio back with you guys, watching on YouTube. And I just want to call in because all year I've been texting one of my buddies. My buddy Mike has season tickets up there. And, of course, there was no fans. And I think the Patriots this year could get away with, where there was no fans, COVID and all that, with the season they had. But my biggest thing is that if we don't know who the quarterback is next year, and you can have all the salary cap you want, even if you bring a quarterback, receivers follow quarterbacks, even though they come in. So are we going to have the same season next year, the same record as next year? Because I think this team has got a long ways to go before we really see. I think your Buffalo and Miami, they're getting to the top, towards the Kansas City and towards them. But I think we're at least 2 years away, at least.
Yeah, I agree, Jim.
I agree, and I'd go further than that. I'd say it's just as important to the defense and the rest of the team. And I totally agree with your point. I think that needs to be something that they identify early in the season, in the off season. That you know what direction you have when veterans are trying to decide if they want to come back and play on the defensive side of the ball. Opt out guys, like what team are we right now? Who are we going to be? Because I don't think you can wait till July and just kind of hang on to Stidham and Hoyer again and say, well, we'll figure out. We'll see who shakes loose. Like that's not going to cut it again.
No, and I got to ask you this question: if they knew that Stidham wasn't the guy coming in, I know they got Cam, they got Hoyer, so they said they had 3 options. They were talking about Justin Herbert, and they said, well, we looked at him, and if we, when he was playing for Oregon, it was mentioned to me. I don't know if you remember the old Greg DePalma back in the day, when he was mentioned back in the day with Tom Brady, how good he'll be and so on, he thought. But with Justin Herbert, he's showing, we put a shellacking on him, but he came back against Vegas. But why, I'm just wondering why they didn't go for a quarterback in the draft as well, if they didn't think Stidham was a guy.
I agree. That's a point I made a couple times. And Paul said, "Hey, what's the difference if we had drafted somebody in the 4th round? They weren't going to get one of those top round guys."
Right. Justin Herbert was taken with the 6th overall pick.
I'd still just like to take shots on guys, and I think that Hoyer position could have been.
Justin was taken then, but why didn't they look further down? If you don't know who you're going to get. You know what I'm saying? But they didn't. They didn't really. I think they thought Cam was going to be the guy. I thought they thought Cam of old, and he's not the guy that of old. So they have to move on.
All right, Jim.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate the phone call.
Thanks, Jim.
We're going to step aside, come back, and we'll hear from the quarterback and wrap up our post-game show here as the Patriots lose to the Dolphins in Miami 22-12.
Wow! You got to see the stats on that one. Our shot at a TD, 14%. Defender distance, decimals. My only out, zero gravity, 6 points. Next gen stats powered by AWS.
My Caleb Sofin love seat. With Bob's discount, you get both pieces for just $7.99.
$7.99? Are you joking?
Do I look like I'm joking?
Yes. You look like you're joking.
I'm serious.
Cool.
Get Bob's discount!
Please, isn't it? Okay. Yeah, it should fit. It should fit.
The take it back for something smaller with the CarMax 7-day money-back guarantee way. Whatever your way, that's the way car buying should be.
How do we inspire people to lead their healthiest lives? How do we bring everyone together so that healthcare finally works for all of us? We know how. We are the how. Optum. How well gets done.
Wow! You gotta see the stats on that one! I shot at a TD, 14%. Defender distance, decimals. My only out, zero gravity, 6 points. Next gen stats powered by AWS.
My Caleb Sofin love seat. With Bob's discount, you get both pieces for just $7.99.
$7.99? Are you joking?
Do I look like I'm joking?
Yes. You look like you're joking.
I'm serious.
Cool.
Get Bob's discount!
Please, isn't it? Okay. Yeah, it should fit. It should fit.
The take it back for something smaller with the CarMax 7-day money-back guarantee way. Whatever your way, that's the way car buying should be.
How do we inspire people to lead their healthiest lives? How do we bring everyone together so that healthcare finally works for all of us? We know how. We are the how. Optum. How well gets done.
Join the conversation by calling the Ace Ticket hotline at 855-PATS-500 or email the show at webradio@patriots.com.
Can I scratch a quick itch? Scratch it.
Live from our studios inside Gillette Stadium, here's Hardy.
Yeah, there's a few people on here who are really disappointed, and they want to spread the blame around. We got Joe in Osprey, Florida. He says, to quote Bill Belichick, "It is what it is." He had a long preseason for Bill to conduct evaluation across the league. He had a full understanding of who is playing for him. He says, I look at this season as a long preseason for Bill to conduct evaluation across the league. He has a full understanding of who is playing for him, who's coming back, who's going to be sitting out, who's going to fit under next year's salary cap. Playing Cam is admitting that this season is not about wins and losses. So you think the Bill was conducting this entire season as kind of an academic exercise?
The Hardy theory.
I think he knew.
Well, I mean, I do think this. I mean, I think that each year, or not every year, but a lot of the years when they fell short, especially in disappointing fashion, that they come back hard, you know? And I think he's come back hard in off seasons. When they fell short in 06, you saw a real dedication to, like, we got to get an offense. In 09 when they fell short, you saw the tight ends kind of coming back into it, kind of redefining the team a little bit. So, I think he's going to be aggressive this offseason. And I don't know how much he's planning out, but there needs to be a lot of things done. They've got some resources to do it. So yeah. I think it'll be interesting.
That's why I'm not freaking out. It's like a lot of fans are freaking out. They look at the future as bleak.
Oh, I
don't.
Then I do.
No, I think that
until you figure out what your situation is at quarterback, you have no.
And I think they will figure that out.
Okay.
One way or another. They'll figure it out. And
I'm worried we're going to be like a lot of other teams.
I like our chances with the ownership. I like our chances with the coach. I think we're going to be fine.
But what do any of those things have to do with a quarterback?
Because good ownership and a coach, they'll figure that position out.
So if you're a good owner, you can figure out you can get a quarterback.
They'll get a guy.
Okay.
They'll get a guy.
Is McDaniels going to be tasked with finding a quarterback in any way? Is this going to be part of it?
Yes, he's going to be part of it. Yeah.
Is he?
Yeah.
Here's a question. Whether or not, A, you think McDaniels is going to be here next year, and B, here's Jeff, who said last week I called in and asked if McDaniels needs to shoulder any blame for the offense, and you said no. After removing Michelle from the game plan after he ran well and no trick plays when the offense was struggling, has your opinion changed?
No, I don't like the decision to remove Sony Michel from the game today. Like, I don't know why he only got 10 carries, but I don't blame the Patriots' offensive struggles on Josh McDaniels. And play calling is one of the most overrated elements of offense, period. Like, they don't have the horses.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same as Paul. Not to throw someone else under the bus, but for everybody complaining about how bad the Patriots are at drafting and personnel decisions, why does Nick Caserio never even get mentioned? It's always Bill Belichick, and I get that he has final say and everything, but no one even ever mentions him as part of that equation. And a lot of times you hear Bill say, "Well, I don't know, Nick's up there, kind of finding guys, and he's the one who tracks them down." So I don't know. I think it's a group effort. You should get into specifics, though, for McDaniels. I agree with what Paul's saying.
Yeah, the only thing about the Caserio thing, and I agree with you, he doesn't really – but, when they overhauled the team, in 2014 and put together a championship-caliber defense, I don't remember anybody giving Caserio any of the credit for that.
Yeah.
So
if I'm wrong and
that's the way it goes.
3 years from now they're no better, it will be Bill's fault. I'm not gonna shift the blame to anyone.
Yeah, and I just think it's really hard. You can have a lot of smart people that know what they're doing, and you're not in a position where you get a quarterback that you like, and it's hard. That's why it's not like I think the future's bleak. I just think it's, there's concern. It's a hard position to win without, and it's hard to get in position to get the guy you want.
Or you just have to find a diamond in the rough, some the random lucky Carson Wentz stunk and he came here and we somehow got him and he was something like that, a weird kind of story.
Well, speaking of quarterbacks, let's hear from Cam Newton as he met with the media virtually after the 22-12
I hope he thinks he
loss.
needs to get better.
Well, let's see what he has to say. Here's a quarterback.
We're going to start with Ben Voland, followed by Mike Giardi.
Hey, Cam, what's your reaction to the Patriots being officially eliminated today?
Well, it's a tough loss. It's just unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but, no need to dwell on what's the obvious. It's a lot of good things that happened in the game. We just didn't do enough. And that's what it comes down to.
You had a nice connection with Jacoby Myers today, 111 yards, I think. How much rapport are you developing with him? And it said in the broadcast you guys have become pretty close. Is that true?
I've known Jacoby longer than probably anybody on this team, but, needless to say, man, we just got to keep better. We just got to keep getting better. I know that sounds like a broken record for me each and every day, but that's what it really comes down to. When our best is expected, that's when we have to be our best.
Next question, Mike Giardi, followed by Doug Kyde.
Cam, I know you're kind of fresh off the field, but you came here to be part of the solution as the team moves into this next place. To not be able to have the answer necessarily in the short term, I guess, sort of how do you feel about that and just sort of how the year has gone so far?
What's your question, though? I don't know what's your question.
You came here to be part of the solution to move on to the next era of Patriot football, and obviously the goal is to make the playoffs and to not be able to reach the playoffs. How do you feel about that part of it and not being able to
obviously, it's frustrating. But like I said, I don't want to just dwell on, what's the obvious. And, this whole season has kind of been, the tale of just coming up just a tad bit short. And, call it however you want to, do. We still got guys that's, new to this system. We still got guys that's young. We still got guys that just don't get it. And we still got guys that's, battling their tails off each and every week. So we just got to keep building on, the optimism of what we can become and just move from there.
Is that your nature to be optimistic even in obviously this disappointment?
What do you want me to do? What you want me to complain? What you want me to tell you everything that's not going right? We know what the standard is around here. It doesn't take a person that's oblivious or been living under a rock to understand that, but we just came up short, and that doesn't mean we're not good enough, because we are. We just didn't show it.
Thank you.
Next question, Doug Kyde, followed by Shane Moore. Cam, it looked like the offense was gaining some momentum for a few weeks, a couple of weeks ago, and then that has stopped. So what do you think caused that momentum on offense to stop over the last 2 weeks?
I don't know. But I can, critique my play, and I have to play better, have to be better. And that's what I just plan on keep doing.
I know that Ben asked you about Jacoby earlier. How much have you just seen him improve over the course of the time that you've been working with him here this season?
I mean, it's something that you kind of, tip your hat to, a guy who makes the most of his opportunity. And that's pretty much what it is. He doesn't blink. The moment's never too big for him. And I know he wish he would have had that fumble back, just like I wish I would have had mine back. But when you battle hard, mistakes happen. We go all week just to get critiqued on 60 minutes, and sometimes it's fair, sometimes it's not fair. But at the end of the day, we just keep doing what we can control.
Just one final one about Jacoby. I know this might be kind of an obvious or dumb question, but what does cause you to target him so much more than some of the other guys on the offense?
That's just what the read tells me to do.
Thank you. Next question, Shane Moore, followed by Andy Hart.
Hey Cam, I was wondering, how do you feel about how well you ran the ball today?
I just got to do a better job with protecting the football.
That's it. Thanks.
Next question, Andy Hart.
Cam, you said a couple minutes ago you need to be better. Do you expect to be the starting quarterback over the final 2 games?
I don't know, man. Listen, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm asked to do. And, for me, I just got to keep getting better, keep doing what's asked of me and go over and beyond and trying to learn the system each and every week. I know we're still in, the latter part of the season, but still trying to learn as much as possible.
We'll take one final question, Levin Reed.
Cam, how tough is the reality of not making the playoffs and at the same time making sure that you guys show the same character for the last 2 games to make sure you finish this season strong?
We got divisional opponents here, and, we just want to create great habits. I know it's an unfortunate situation to be in, and there's nothing that I could pretty much say that, can give anybody, anything outside of knowing what the reality of our situation is right now. But, we just got to keep going. And, like I said, we obviously would have wanted to win this game today just to improve our chances, but we didn't. And sometimes life just gives you that type of, reality, and what are you to do? And what we're going to do is just keep getting better with the opportunities that we're given.
Thank you, Cam. Thank you, everyone.
All right, there goes Cam Newton after the 22-12 loss to the Dolphins in Miami today. Asked by Andy Hart, who we all know, whether he thought he was going to be the starting quarterback for the final 2 games.
As soon as we heard Andy Hart's name teed up for a question, he doesn't ask a question unless it's going to be something like that.
Right.
It's a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I agree with you, Fred. The only reason Andy asked the question is to get attention for himself.
Exactly.
It's not to elicit a response or to write an
See how
important
tough I am?
story.
Yeah.
No, it's so that people will mention his name, and guess what? It worked.
I'm going to ask this question, then I'm going to the gym to lift.
How about cutting down trees?
I mean,
I'm at home in my Zubas right now.
It was kind of an interesting way that Cam answered. He's like,
it sounded like he didn't know.
Yeah, it kind of sounded like he didn't know.
And I was wrong about the Belichick press conference.
Nobody asked.
Yeah, I mean, I'm stunned that no one would ask that same question that Andy asked Cam Newton, that no one would ask Bill Belichick that.
Yeah.
And
how would you reword it, though? So, I mean, like,
I would ask it exactly the way I did last week.
So you don't care.
I'm sorry. What is anybody interested in right now? Is Stidham going to play? And nobody asked Bill Belichick if Stidham's going to play.
It's true. It is. I mean, I don't know that it's the only question, but it's the most popular question, the most popular topic about the last 2 weeks.
And just to
it's
recap,
the only thing that can change right now.
And just to recap, down 21 with 10 minutes to go, he inserted Stidham because he thought that gave him the best chance to win. Down 10 or down 6 in the fourth quarter of a game where you haven't been able to score a touchdown in 9 quarters with Newton at the quarterback, no change. Like, that doesn't warrant a question?
It does, and that's why it's just like keep
because
running
Bill
into the wall.
because Bill finger wagged somebody last week. Said, that's the last time that question's going to get asked. Oh, okay. Okay, so we're just letting the coach dictate what the questions are now.
Thanks for pointing that out.
Does that make any sense to anybody?
No.
And I'm not trying to be like a radio tough guy. I'm not in the press conference, and I'm not going to lie to you. If I was, I wouldn't have asked it either. Okay?
I don't know how you do that job. I honestly don't. I don't know how.
But you can't let the coach dictate what the questions are going to be and what they're not going to be. That's not a, like I agree. Like you don't want to ask personal shot, but that's a very relevant football question about the rest of this year and having to do with the future.
It's simple. Will Cam be starting next week?
Right.
I mean, the offense has scored a touchdown in 9 quarters. Are you considering making any change?
Right. And what has changed? It's easy. What has changed? You're no longer
Deuce just
eligible.
did it. Yeah, you don't bring up the names Newton or Stidham, but you still ask the question. And you point out the fact that you haven't been able to score a touchdown in more than 2 full games.
To make them say, no, we're going to keep.
Hey, it could. There are 2 games left in the regular season. There is a Monday night game against the Bills, so we will be here a week from tomorrow night.
Yes.
Home game.
Night game.
Home game.
Can't get that one flexed.
It's exciting. Monday Night Football.
What do you?
Good news is the Jets game will be locked into 1 o'clock now.
Yeah, Jets at 1 o'clock to end the season on January 3rd. My question is, what would you like to have happen? Quarterback wise, game plan wise, anything. What is it? What is your hope for that game against the Bills a week from tomorrow night? And what do you think is going to happen, Deuce?
I mean, I just go to the basic. Want to see the young guys play well again, but I mean, even after that, I mean, how well can they play to really? And that's part of it too. Is like I just don't feel like Cam's really giving these guys as much of an opportunity as they. Not to say that they'd have more with Stidham, but it's just be something different. It would give you a new kind of twist to look at. It'd be more interesting to kind of what do they do with him? What's different? Like it would just bring an excitement to the game. If we're gonna roll this Newton offense out there again and just hope for 3-4 more field goals, I don't know. I mean I'd love to say I'd love to see these young guys play great, but I just with all the injuries that they've had added up, I feel like that's asking a lot right now.
Fred, what do you want and what are we gonna get?
Again, let me make it really clear. I want to change at quarterback, not to see who's got what, just for the change. They're banging their head against the wall right now.
Okay.
So let's just, try something different. And it's not to evaluate anyone. It's just, let's just have a change.
Yeah, and specifically, Mike said the young guys, but specifically to me, the tight ends. Asiasi and Keene, find a way. Again, I said it before the game. Go into the game with the game plan, incorporate a couple of plays designed to get them the ball, and let's see what they got.
But you got to do it with a passer.
No, but I mean, the ball went right. They were both terrible. When Cam threw them passes today, one of them dropped and one of them fumbled.
No,
you can't. You need to make some plays. But in my opinion, it doesn't really matter long term. You have to figure out if these guys are these guys. Either one of them, they have the potential to be the number 1 tight end. I don't think so, based on what I've seen.
I don't think
I think
so
they're
either.
both complementary guys, but they know more. Practice, preparation, all of that. See if they have a chance to make some plays. See if they can be niche guys.
Yeah.
I want Stidham to start next week. I think we're going to get Cam. That's what I think is going to happen.
I do too. I think you're right. I think at this point,
Buffalo's going to have some fun with that.
They could, and it depends on how motivated that Buffalo team is, based on what happens. All right, so let us say goodbye, and the final score for the final time, 22-12, is the Patriots lose to the Dolphins in Miami. For Mike Dussault, Paul Perillo, Fred Kirsch, Matt LePan, Matt Morrell, everyone involved in the Patriots postgame show, thank you for listening and watching.
Thank you for downloading this podcast. Subscribe on Apple, Google Play, and everywhere else you listen. Like the show? Please rate and review us. Listener comments and ratings help keep us high in the podcast rankings so new listeners can find us. Be sure to check Patriots.com for more news and more podcasts.